Hi everyone, it's Samantha with Clawfoot Farm, and we've made it to May, so I'm going to walk around the garden and I'd like you to come with me and let's go see what's growing in May. So here's our raised bed garden, and here, if you don't know, we have 6 raised beds, 4x8, and this bed has our lettuce, and on the very edge of it has cabbage. And we have been eating out of this bed and also over here out of this bed every day. As soon as we eat down this lettuce, this is May Queen lettuce, and it's doing just beautifully. It has not gone bitter with any of the warmer weather that we've had, so it's been wonderful. And as soon as that's out, we're going to plant some ground cherries here, and over here we will have some cucumbers. So that's the first 2 raised beds, and some strawberries in a bucket. And then this has been pretty much our cool weather bed. It has peas and fava beans and bok choy and spinach. And the bok choy, we had some warmer weather last week, and the bok choy is really sensitive and it just bolted. We have been eating the bok choy. Doesn't look like it, there's a lot there, but we have been eating the bok choy, trying to eat it before it all goes to flour, and I think I might just harvest a bunch of this and blanch it. The same thing goes with the spinach. But look at the peas. The peas are just doing fantastic. This year we only have 1 row of peas. Normally I will do 4 rows of peas in one of our raised beds for to have enough peas for the year. But this year we have a lot of peas left over in the freezer. So I decided to just do enough peas for us to have for fresh eating. Right here we have our fava beans, which are big and growing well, and they are blooming. And look at those. Isn't that neat? A little black and white polka dotted, and then they have these lines on the top of their blossoms. It's really amazing. It's a really beautiful plant. I think we're gonna get some fava beans. Alrighty, so we're gonna move to the next 2 beds. Here we have our onions, which they're just doing great. They're just growing bigger than we saw last time. And a little herb garden in the middle here. Sage is growing, oregano is growing, strawberries in pots are growing. So this bed here is all broccoli and cauliflower and weeds, but broccoli and cauliflower. And we did have some warm weather last week where it was in the 80s, and that is unusual for us in May, and it caused some of our cauliflower here to bolt. These are unusable now when they are this small and going, like, heading up. I might just pull those out and direct seed some cauliflower in its place to see how that goes, so we'll see. And this bed is some more broccoli and cauliflower, and I think those are kohlrabi and kale. And the kale's lovely. We're eating the kale on a daily basis. This is rugged jack kale. Kind of switch our kales every year. And then right here, these are our garbanzo beans. So we have garbanzo beans that are starting to bloom. There's a little bloom there. So the garbanzo beans are another one of those another plant that we're just trying this year and seeing how it goes. So here, give you an overview first. This is what the parking strip garden looks like. It's really grown up over the last few weeks. And this garden is pretty much ready to redo. So a lot of the spring things are done, a lot of the things from last year are done, and then we're just gonna pull those guys out and put in some summer plants. I'm gonna put some more kale and some cabbages in here. But we are super excited for our fruit trees. Let's see if we can go, there we go. Look at those, our baby apples all along. We are gonna get a good harvest of fruit this year. These trees are 3 years old, and this one is a plum tree. Let's see if we can look at some, oh yeah, there we go. So there, this one's a plum tree, and this one's a plum tree. There's a plum right there, another one right there. They're all over. Okay, there's another. We haven't had any plums yet, and last year we got, I think, 2 apples. And then we got like 2 apples last year, so we're really excited that we're going to get a pretty decent harvest of fruit this year. And our currant bushes, there are just hundreds of currants on these guys. Currants, currants, currants everywhere. So here we have our lemon balm, and that is ready to harvest. It's just growing as this big, it's kind of really beautifully mounded though. It's well behaved for a aggressive plant. And over here our beets are bolting, and so they're about to bloom, which I just let them do that because it's beautiful and I don't have anything else to put in this place. But over behind them, growing up nicely, are the anise hyssop, and over there is a Korean hyssop right in the middle there, and some parsley. And I'll show you back here, the kale is all done. The kale that was blooming and so beautiful before, we're all done with those. I'm going to tear those out, pull those out today. But right behind them, these are our comfrey plants, and we have 3 comfrey plants, and they are blooming, which means it's time to cut these back. They have really pretty blooms, and the pollinators love them. And just as soon as they all bloom out, like they have probably a couple more days, there's some more blooms that aren't all the way out here, but I'll let them bloom for just a little bit, and then I'll cut them all the way down to the ground, and they will grow back up. And this, and then they'll bloom again. They'll grow, and then the comfrey will grow back up and bloom again. And you can use comfrey as mulch in your garden, and it is fantastically beautiful and brings a lot of nutrients to the garden. And this, so if you didn't see our video that we just titled Fire, this is where the fire happened. Husband was flame weeding and some straw caught on fire. And the Asian pear caught on fire as well, unfortunately, but I think it is bouncing back, and there are some little fruits on there, so I hope we get some Asian pears. But this is going to be our pumpkin patch, which is going to get planted anytime now. Let's pan over past the raspberries. And potatoes. The potatoes are lovely. They're doing just great, right on par. I did hill up or mound up the potatoes with some straw. And the next step is to actually put another tire right on top and then continue to mound it up with some straw. Alrighty, we're gonna go to, oh, I'll give you a view on this side. So there's the raised bed. So there's the raised bed garden from this view. Oh, we gotta go this way. Okay, so here we have our corner garden, and we do have our tomatoes planted in here. And right now I have 3 rows of tomatoes, and they each have 10, so we have 30 tomatoes in here. And then on the very back side, or front side, I guess, depends on how you're looking at it. Okay, so these 2 rows here are all the seeds that we got from the seed swap that we had a video about earlier this year. There's peas, some cabbages, and lettuces and beets, some kohlrabi, and some radishes. This is what it looks like when you are eating your cut and cut again or leaf lettuce. So this is just red leaf lettuce here. And as you can see, this is where we've cut some about 2 days ago. This is where we cut some, oh, actually this is probably 4 days ago. And then this is where we cut it 2 days ago. And we don't cut it all the way, we don't pull out the roots, and it will just keep growing. It will grow again. See how these are growing up again? And then we will cut a little bit more here each day, and you actually can grow a lot of food in a tiny little space. The roses are blooming. The roses are blooming early this year because of that that heat wave that we had last week. Kind of kicked them into gear. They're so just beautiful. Roses are blooming. This rose, I'm not sure of the name of this rose, but this is one of my favorites. It is almost ready to bloom. This rose has some of the most exquisite yellow, double, triple, whatever blooms, and it is a true tea rose, and it definitely smells like tea. This is my favorite rose that we have here. This is such another beautiful one. This little peppermint rose. And here is the front walk. This kind of tells you about May in our garden. The spring flowers are done blooming, but the foliage has not died all the way back yet, and the summer dahlias, the summer flowers have not grown big enough. Like there's a dahlia right there, just starting to grow up. And so while April is full of spring flowers and really nice blooms, May, there's a couple weeks in May when everything's growing and there's a lot of promise, but there's this like awkward teenage moment where the spring is done but summer is not yet here, and that's May for you. Alrighty, so let's take a look at my quinoa bed that had all the weeds in it. I've been really working on keeping the weeds down here. Sorry for the big truck. We are in the front yard. We do live in the city. And it is growing nicely. I have been out here weeding, and I think we've really kind of cut the weeds down. The quinoa is really interesting. Doesn't it look like lamb's quarters? I have had some lamb's quarters growing in here, and it looks almost exactly like the quinoa. So hopefully this is quinoa that's growing. We'll see. Oh, here's a lamb's quarter. So look how similar this is. So here is a lamb's quarter growing, which is a weed, although it is edible, but it's a weed. And then this is the quinoa. So that's been interesting. The lettuce along here, these are so perfect little lettuces. We just pick a whole head of this and just cut it in half and it becomes salad for two. We've been eating those every day. So this is our 16-foot bed. We also have some interesting things growing that are volunteers. Sunflowers. Let's go this way. Like that guy right there. That's a happy sunflower that's just doing its best life there. And we have some squash. This one looks like it's got a little yellow. I think that might be a cucumber. This soil came from the chicken run. And so I think we fed the chickens some cucumbers. I think this is another cucumber. Looks like it. That's a little volunteer. And so here's all the quinoa, and then at the very end we have some fun little potatoes. Because I had too many potatoes, so I threw them in here because there was some space. And this chard, Swiss chard here, this is Vulcan chard. And the red is just so vibrant. You can see we've cut some here. We've been eating on that as well. We have a few plants. And the cabbages are starting to head up, and we're going to be using some cabbage in a little bit. Ready? That is the front yard. Let's walk to the back. We're kind of doing our tour backwards from what we did last month. So let's go in. Oh gosh, wait, we gotta look at the raspberries. Okay, so here are the raspberries, and the bees are just all over the raspberries this time of year. Lots of honeybees I'm seeing. And if you look closely, that is a tiny little raspberry. That is a raspberry getting ready to, ooh, there we go, plump up. Raspberries are coming on. Hello, honeybee. I really think this year is going to be great for raspberries. Okay. A lot of big trucks today on the road. It's like Big Truck Wednesday or something. Okay, so here is the backyard. I'm going to give you, first we're going to look at these columbines. If you've never seen columbines, like how they're quintessential cottage garden flowers. But they're just little happy nodding heads. Plants of the year. I am out of this as a dried herb right now, so I can't wait for that to bloom. That makes the most just delicious bergamot tea. Oh my gosh, I can smell it even now that we have just moved it with my hands, just that little bit. And the rhubarb is ready for harvest. The rhubarb is gigantic. And look at the size of these leaves. Here's my hand. I can't even get the whole leaf in the shot. There's the leaf. Yeah. And there's the rhubarb back there. Remember that when you're eating rhubarb, do not eat the leaves. The leaves are poisonous. You only want to eat the red stems. Ooh, I just broke the stem. You only want to eat those red stems. But look at all that rhubarb in there. We're going to be doing some rhubarb recipes pretty soon. And we are getting some artichokes. I'm going to step right over and show you. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Artichokes are coming up. Just having artichoke plants kind of reminds me of like having a Jurassic garden. And over here on the side of the chicken coop, or chicken run, we have a nice surprise. I planted this tiny little area with purple magnolia purple tendril peas, and they are growing. They kind of used the fence as a trellis. We had one of our chickens got out and came right over here and scratched this whole area, and I didn't think we were going to have any left over. So we have, I don't know, there's like 5 or 6 of them in there, so there we go. Alrighty, well that is the walk around the garden in May. So hope you enjoyed it, and I'd love to hear what's going on in your garden in May. And so I will see you later. Thanks. Bye.